All right. So now we're gonna talk about Blade Runner, the original film, of course, but of course, and 2049. But really, in terms of the original film, we have to talk about its influence. You have to talk about the reason why 25 years from now, people are still, especially sci-fi directors or whatnot and writers are still looking towards this movie and being inspired by this. Why the American Film Institute has it on its list of greatest films of all time, why it's on their top 10 list of greatest sci-fi movies of all time. Why is it so influential? And,
Right.
was it a fluke? Was it something that just wasn't meant to happen? You know, it is just kind of happened by accident or whatnot? Because that's one thing I really want to question though. Like, does it really deserve that praise that it has, right? And then of course we're gonna compare it to the recently released Blade Runner 2049, which may or may not be going in a similar path that the old film is going. Well,
Right.
sorry, went. Um, and that's all basically I'll just say here for this intro. So Blade Runner. I'm just gonna do this brief little rundown as to the
Of the
history
original.
of Blade Runner, right?
Yeah.
So, and well, some of this what I'm saying is kind of based off of the documentary that's available on the final cut of the movie, which is available on DVD and Blu-ray. It's called Dangerous Days, and this is like a 3.5 hour behind the scenes look at the making of this show. If you are a diehard fan of Blade Runner, you have to see this, right? So the history behind this movie is kind of amusing, right? So, as we all know, it's directed by Ridley Scott. It's a loose adaptation of the novel "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep," which is written by the
Yeah.
late great Philip K. Dick.
Yeah.
Um,
Speaking of Killer Dick,
yeah, yeah, go on.
um, well, I don't know if you know, well, Janelle Monáe is a big fan of him, but she and a bunch of great actors, including I think Bryan Cranston,
Yes, yes,
is
yes.
has
I
a
know where you come from. The Electric
yes,
Sheep
yes,
series, right?
on Amazon. Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes.
coming out soon.
I saw the trailer for it, and it
Coming out
looks.
next year.
Oh, next day, okay. It looks very impressive. I'm wondering what
Yeah,
is the budget for this, because this is like Hollywood level
yeah, it
budget,
looks great.
the way how it looks. So, clean and
Anyway, go
crispy.
ahead.
But
Yeah,
anyway, right. So, the story itself, right? So, basically, it involves it. All right. So it's set in 2019 in Los Angeles, and
yeah,
this is like a dystopian version of it. So it's very
dystopia.
smoggy, and a lot of tall buildings and a lot of rain. And what was pretty interesting, every time I see them, I'm always really intrigued by this, is how all these different cultures just happen to converge into this one city. Because like, um, when they show views of the city, when you actually see when you actually go through the streets of this version of Los Angeles, you're seeing influences from like Japan and China and India, from the Middle East. You're just seeing all these different cultures. They just happen to just come together in this one, rain-soaked city, right?
Yeah,
And basically, it centers on the character of Rick Deckard, who in the movie is played by Harrison Ford, quite brilliantly, in my opinion. Um, and he is what you call a Blade Runner. He is a special cop, well, a special
yeah,
police officer, if you will, who is assigned basically to hunt down
yeah,
androids, well, humanoid androids called
yeah. The
replicants.
movie, the movie doesn't explain. I don't think the movie ever really explained where the term Blade Runner exactly comes from.
No, no.
But I think the book does. The
Yeah.
book explains it's more like gun runner and it's for surgical blades.
Okay, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I think I saw this in the actual documentary itself, but I think I'm not sure if it was Philip who wrote the book or somebody else, but it's actually a book that was called Blade Runner, and he actually had to ask permission to use that title, even though
Okay.
it was related to something else. At
Right.
least that's what I know. Right. So essentially, his job is just to hunt down these androids, because what happened is that these creatures were called the Nexus Eight. They were created by the Tyrell Corporation. So it's just this multi-million-dollar company that just creates these machines, and they are used for off well, basically work outside of Earth. So in this future, basically they're looking to other planets
Yeah.
to
Awful. Yeah.
colonize and stuff. So they found this one planet that we never see called Offworld. So these these replicants are used for labor there, or in the movie they say it's slave labor
Yeah,
basically.
it's just various colonies. I mean,
Yeah,
you don't know where exactly.
right. So these particular so there was like just these different events that took place where replicants kind of, well, the thing is that they have this 4 year lifespan. So the creators of them kind of assume that they have them under control because they create these memories. Well, they fabricate memories from, you know, other people and whatnot, from humans I should say, and they use it as a cushion for the emotions. So the idea is that if they become too aware of the emotions, they overreact and they, you know, they
Right.
realize, oh, we're slaves, so we have to rebel and we have to kill, or we have to survive basically, and that's really the whole main theme: survival and, you know, longevity. So the film kind of centers where four, well, sorry, well, it's supposed to be five replicants, but one of them was killed when he came back to Earth. So four replicants are loose in the streets of Los Angeles, and now Rick Deckard has to hunt them down. But at the same time, he ends up falling in love with a woman who works at the Tyrell Corporation. Her name is Rachel. She's played by Sean Young in her debut performance. Um, and here's where he learns that yes, she is a replicant as well, but she may or may not be aware that she is one. She kind of learns through the film that she is one, and she kind of trying to understand like who she is and does she
Yeah.
has feelings for Rick and all that kind of stuff, and is really, and this is where the film kind of gets all existential, because on the one hand it's about, you know, can machines, you know, live their lives as humans? Can they dream? Can they have memories? Should they
Right.
have memories? You know, control, does that really work? And then at the same time, from the perspective of the machines themselves, is like, well, we want to live, so why do we have this 4 year lifespan? Why can't we live? You know, why can't we coexist with humans? Why do humans hate us so much and all that kind of stuff? And without going into detail about what the movie is about, that's really at the heart of what this film is about. They really do
Yeah.
touch on a lot of, you know, themes that have been explored in films like Ghost in the Shell and The Matrix, like what makes us human? Are we genuinely human? What if we learn one day that we are a machine? You know, do we deserve the right to live even though we are a machine and all that kind of stuff?
Right.
Now, that's a last thing I'll say just with my experience watching the movie, and then you'll get to your thoughts. My first exposure to the movie, believe it or not, was through a comic book. Believe it or not, yeah, I actually had because there was this old comic book store in Port of Spain that I used to go to every once in a while, and they actually had the comic book adaptation to this film, right?
Right.
Yeah, this was in the 80s, this era, but it came out in 1982. So yeah, mostly, especially like Marvel, for example, will always adapt big budget movies and make comic book adaptations. Like for example, I do have the comic book adaptation, sorry, for Conan the Barbarian, which came out in the same year, and I love Conan
Yeah.
the Barbarian, right? But anyway, I'm actually one of the few that generally loves this movie. But anyway, um, so after that, I really like the story, I like the characters, everything. But then I actually saw the movie itself, and this was the theatrical cut, right? Because there actually were five cuts of this film. So the
Yeah.
final cut, the one that released cut, was like, yes, folks, this is the final
And
one.
that was like what, quite 2007 or
Yeah,
something.
2007, 25 years after the original film came out.
It's a
It's
little
like, yes,
ridiculous.
this is the original, this is the final cut, this is the one that I love, right? So anyway, I saw the theatrical cut on television, and this was the version, the infamous one where we had the voiceover narration from Harrison Ford. And I remember in the documentary, the reasoning behind that is because at a test screening of this movie, which was actually a little bit longer than the version that we've come to know and love today, it didn't go over well. So you know the producers and them were scared because they already invested so much money into this film, because yeah, they use so much, like from, you know, set design and just everything. They pull all the stops here with this one. So the last thing they wanted was to have a flop in their hands, right? So when they actually, before actually releasing it, they said, well, here what? Because we don't want to alienate the audience, let's have Harrison Ford do the voiceover narration. Let
Right.
him explain
Which is a
certain
bad,
things.
which is a
And
dumb
then,
call.
yeah, like when I saw it, I felt, to me at the time, like it was just unnecessary. There was no need for it. And
Yeah.
then, of course, there was the infamous the ending that they kind of shot last minute and put together. I'll explain the put together thing in a bit, where at the very end, Rachel and Rick, sorry, do survive, and they do leave the city, it's hinted that they do leave, but the final shot is just them in Rick's car, basically driving down this country, driving down this road into the woods, basically. And then we hear this voiceover where he says, "Well, I know she won't live long, but then again, who does?" Or something along that line. And then it just kind of ends where you see shots of the woods. But what was kind of interesting here is that, and they said in the documentary, is that when they actually tried to shoot the footage, like they actually shot the footage of the woods, right? But then when they actually went to editing the film, like I think it's because of the coal or something, so the film was unusable now. So it really was like, all right, I
Right.
actually I am actually great friends with Stanley Kubrick. And 2 years ago he brought out The Shining, right? And if you remember from the intro, there's lots of shots of
It's snow.
the
Yeah.
snow, not just the snow, but just like this wood, like this road going into the woods and stuff like that now. All these
Right.
forested
Oh, so they use
areas.
that footage. Okay.
So he said, well, let me just use some of your B-roll now, let me just splice it in. And that's what he
Okay.
did. And that's how the ending came about now. So the movie came out, and yeah, it was a flop.
Yeah.
People, and I think this is the reason why I didn't like it the first time. But this is because I have grown up on seeing Harrison Ford be this action hero. I've grown up on Patriot games. I grew up on The Fugitive and Clear Present Danger. What else? Air Force One. So when you're seeing a movie about a detective in the future hunting down androids, you're expecting some action. So when I watching this thing, it's like, but there's not that much action in it. There's more drama and like heavy themes and all that kind of stuff now. It's only when I got older and I, watch it again, that's when it really resonated with me now. But anyway, so Theatrical Cut came out. It was a flop. People didn't like it. Critically didn't make any. Sorry, commercially didn't make that much money. But critically, people were kind of indifferent to it. They find it was just different. They praised the ambition that went into it. But
Right.
what was amazing though is that over the years, people watched it more and more and more, and then really, of course, being the perfectionist that he was. Because yes, he even described that even on set, that man was like real focused on it, boy. Like the studio heads was running. Okay, you're gonna wrap up anytime soon. He's like, no, I'm gonna finish this thing. Don't worry. There's even a point where the cinematographer, right, who just so happens to be the father of the cinematographer for Fight Club, and the son was alive to actually tell the story. The man had Parkinson's disease, dread.
Oh
So
wow.
like
Okay.
he was doing the cinematography stuff. He was working long hours because he was shooting at night, nights now, right? Because yeah, the majority of the movie, like sorry, the entirety of this movie up to that ending scene, which was in sunlight, which kind of stood out like a sore thumb, right? Compared to
Yeah.
everything else. Um, so that man was like just working continuously now. So it reached a point where the man ended up in a wheelchair, and really was aware of it. He was aware of what was going on, but he just was staying focused. He was he just had to get this film the way how he saw it. Because the
Right.
reason why the film looks the way how it is and plays out the way it does is really because of Ridley's vision, right? Which I actually defend. But anyway, so it's over the years and people really started to we kind of had to go back and see it again, and that was like with me. So when I saw it again the second time, that was the director's cut. I saw it on Sci-Fi, right? And I was still drawn. Like when I saw it there, I was drawn to like the cinematography. I was drawn to the kind of atmospheric aesthetic of it. There was things visually, things sonically, just acting stuff that just stood out to me basically, and it just kind of made me obsessed about the movie basically, right? And then finally we had the final cut, which, like I say, Ridley says in the he says it actually in the DVD or Blu-ray, where it's like, yes, this is the actual final cut. We fix up, we tweaked certain things. We changed Rutger Hoyer's line, which was "I want more life fucker" to "I want more life father." We changed that up because we want to hint at the fact that John Tyrell is indeed Roy Batty's father, or hinting at that
Right.
basically. And of course, you're gonna question the whole the thing that a lot of fans and non-fans kind of left the show wondering, yeah, is Rick Deckard really a replicant or
Right.
not?
Right.
So I like how that director's cut kind of left it open, but I'll
Which
I'll
I
kind of
hated.
I'll kind of round things up here, and then we'll get to your thoughts. In the um in the audio commentary for the final cut, which I do have by the way, he did say at the very end that yeah, he is a replicant, but he didn't want to kind of spell it out to people. Now he kind of wanted to leave it up to the audience to decide. whether he was or not. Now, that's why at the very end, if you remember from the final cut, there's a shot where he's about to leave his apartment, and then you see the origami thing
Yeah,
of the
the unicorn.
unicorn,
Yeah,
right?
that gaff. Yeah,
Yeah, which Gaff, which is played by Edward James, almost
yeah,
Lefner. And then there was that line where he says, "It's a shame she won't live, but then again, who does?"
right.
Right, so they kind of left it open there. But in the commentary, he kind of came out and said, "Well, yeah, he is a replicant, because how else would Gaff be able to know about the memory? Well, sorry, the dream of the unicorn, and be able to
Yeah,
plant that into Harrison Ford's mind?" And then just
right,
looking at it now, before watching 2049, looking at it now and knowing that yeah, he is a replicant, it kind of makes sense in a way how um, Harrison Ford's performance is. It's very reserved. It's very
right.
um, he doesn't
Well, all right. So
broadcast stuff now. He just kind of in his own zone, and I thought that it worked in
right,
kind of showing the complexity of his character. But I ramble long enough. Your
right.
thoughts on Blade
As I
Runner?
say, it's unclear. Even in this movie, I don't think it was particularly clear or answered.
Yeah, but that's what I like. It's either so, but is it so?
Right.
That's how
My thing
I
is,
see it.
here's my thing. The story doesn't work if he's a replicant
Okay, well, why do you say that?
because already narrative don't make sense.
Oh, you mean why he would move? Why he's reacting, or why basically
Right.
the how he plays out in the movie?
Right. And
why
then on
it
top of that,
does
like
right?
he's not physically stronger than Roy Batty and the gang. So why is he strong like a normal human? Like none of it makes sense.
And then another thing that was kind of weird though. So sorry to cut you. Is the idea or the implied idea of replicants making other replicants?
Well, right.
So
So well, we'll talk about that.
Tyrell is a replicant that
No.
made
We'll
a
talk about that.
replicant.
No,
I
no.
don't
We'll talk
know.
about
Right.
that in
In the
2049.
2049. But yeah, continue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I say, it a lot of the story doesn't work in the story, and it doesn't make sense. To say, wait, how they solve this problem or not that problem? How does
Yeah.
he do it this and not that? The idea about unicorn being a thing. Well, if you notice, all the replicants was related to an animal in some shape or form, but a unicorn is not a real animal.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Oh, and on the
why
subject of that though, that whole unicorn thing was in release header. He just
exactly
always had this idea of a unicorn. He was like, all right, screw
exactly,
it.
and then on
I'm
top
gonna
of that,
shoot
and
this
then when
horse. Boom. Yeah.
yeah, the best evidence against whether or not Deckard is a replicant is well, only Ridley seems to have this idea. Everybody else bullshit. Everybody else say he's a bullshit on the matter.
Right.
Right? Harrison Ford disagrees with the idea of him being a replicant. Philip K. Dick himself disagrees with him being a replicant. And the whole point of the replicants is, well, the original idea of replicants is it was based on Nazi stormtroopers kind of thing. Now, the idea of a person having to be a total sociopath and couldn't be a human. Now, you call them
Oh,
like
I see. Because
right.
the film does touch on control, whether it's
Right.
the corporations and of course the police department that
Right.
Deckard has to work under.
And it's the idea of sociopathy now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
replicants, all the replicants, at least in the first Blade Runner, has almost no redeemable qualities necessarily. All of them is like real borderline psychopaths.
Especially Roy Boy. Although I like
Well,
that
Roy is
Ricker
interesting
gave him
one,
some
but-
heart though. Like
Right.
there's some depth to him. It's like, well, I kinda
Right.
don't want to do this. I want to live, but I kinda
Yeah.
weird and kooky at the same time though.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's the others really behave really badly. But in the case it's because of the time, and you could get into a big debate about was the distinction between humans and replicants is only because they grown as adults and they don't have a child stage. That's why they are the way they are. Because if you
Right.
think about human children are pretty much psychopaths at the age of 2. And
Why
younger.
did they cry so much?
Well, not they cry so much. They have some called the terrible twos, and they actually behave sociopathic.
Right.
It's just they're so small, so it's not a problem
Yeah.
on average. They only really kind of sort themselves out by about age 10 or so, if you think
Right.
about it.
Okay.
As far as I understand. But so it's kind of the same thing. Tyrell made them in such a way where he knew he wouldn't be able to solve the problem and have them be pretty much well a slave class at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's the idea there. And this movie
and-
addresses
right.
this movie addresses a great point, eh?
Right,
2049 addresses
2049,
it
right.
quite well.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say on the subject of Tyrell, John Tyrell, who I love this is the character as well. I like that there was that moment where Roy was asking, well, there's all these methods, this protein based, thing, you could use to
Nope.
prolong the life, the longevity of him. And
Right.
Tyrell is like, well, no, we tried it before, it didn't work. And then he says, the light that burns, twice as bright, lasts half as long or something like along
Right.
that line. Just paraphrase it. So I like that yeah, there is a reason why they have to live for this length of time, and it's
Right.
not like he didn't want them to live long. It's just it didn't work. You know what
Well,
I mean? It's not like he's selfish. You
it's
know?
yeah. Well, but yeah, again, you kind of learn later is to kind of solve a problem, which is you don't want these things hanging about too long anyway.
Of course, yeah,
So
yeah. And they did to
right,
do a
whatever.
job anyway. So right,
Exactly.
but the film itself as a whole, what do you think about the movie?
Right.
Your
I
history
don't
with it,
think.
I should say.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not the biggest fan of the show. It's not like I hate it or anything like that because I just never connect with it as much as other people did.
All
But
right.
yeah, this is the show that it all started. It all. It is by all accounts a brilliant movie. A lot of it works. I give it as you know if I were to give it by a modern rating, I just give it a solid IMAX.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would give it a 5, just
it
an
works.
easy 5 out of 5.
A lot of it is still, a lot of it is slow, and a lot of it doesn't hold up all that well. But it's still like a great movie in its own way, just from sheer atmosphere and world building.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's one thing I love. I love the visual aesthetic of this world. You could tell that
yeah,
they plan this thing, they organize it. It feels real. Like every time I
yeah.
watch this neo-noir version of Los Angeles, it feels so incredibly real.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very grounded and well made. It there's a well we use this word a lot, verisimilitude to it.
Yes, yes.
Um, and yeah, even though I don't think we're going to get flying cars in a couple of years, you really get a sense of well, yeah, you can have flying cars in this world. This new movie does a lot of like references to that, so it really feels like the future of that world instead of the future of our world,
Yeah,
which I thought was quite smart.
like this, like the old film, for example, had an analog feel to it. Like when you look at it,
Right,
and
right,
that's another thing I really loved about it. That was really so impressive, is that this is actually before VFX, before CG, now.
right,
So nearly everything that you see in the movie was done like
right.
in camera now. You know, it
No,
wasn't
but
like
well,
CG
right.
shots or anything, and that's
Yeah. Well,
amazing. You know,
again, it's something I'll mention for the new movie, but yeah, they just do this great world building.
yeah.
Again, it really sets the template of what we think cyberpunk is. Yeah, you had
Well,
people like
we could kind of argue that it started it, or I could be
well,
wrong. I don't
yeah,
know.
I mean, you had people like William Gibson and whatnot who just kind of write a lot of books and had a lot of material even before that. Just the idea of the android and so it existed before kind of, but yeah, the template of the look,
Yes.
that aesthetic look of cyberpunk, this what we call the dystopian, shitty industrialized look.
Yeah.
That you kind of the world that you kind of don't want to live in, but seems necessary and inevitable.
You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Is RoboCop. It's all of that
Yeah.
whole paradigm. Everything is shaped more or less from this paradigm.
Right.
And a lot of it worked for the most part. Well, again, I'll talk about with the new movie what
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
my problems with it. But yeah,
Um.
at the time, a lot of people would have been blown away by this. I could imagine.
Yeah, but this just like the food, like what I want to find out from you, like, the few times I imagine, I don't think you've seen it a lot of times. What do you think about, like, did it grow on you as you saw it more, or it's
No.
just like,
Yeah, actually, it's one of those movies that get worse for me.
why you just
but
find it was just too dull? Cause I imagine a
right,
lot of
yeah,
people would like
if you
find
think
it
about it, it
dull.
has a lot of pacing issues.
I would agree. I would agree. It
A lot
does.
of pacing issues. Deckard himself doesn't really have a particularly good character arc when you think about it.
Yeah.
Um,
And one thing about him though, he's very morose. He's very
right,
like downtrodden and like always grumpy.
right,
But I get that it's a a take on the noir genre, so you had to get that.
right,
Then you
and
have
then
Rachel being the femme
right,
fatale, if you will, bringing some light into his
right, and
life
then well,
and
you
yada
could
yada.
you could debate about whether it matters or it's important. Again, that's I suppose part of the movie, but that's a kind of borderline rape scene in the movie.
Well, yes,
Um,
no, okay, I wouldn't
and that's
I
kind of
would
really
call it I
strange.
would call it that, but it's just how forcefully he kind of comes at us, like, say you
Right,
love me, I love you,
right,
kiss me, say kiss me.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
it
that
were.
in itself, you're watching it, and okay, I get that it's trying to go against the sex symbol that I assume Harrison Ford was when he was in Star Wars and Raiders of the Lost Ark. But like
Right,
every time I see that, it just kind of like I just felt like maybe if you just wrote it, like rewrote that scene, that particular scene, and actually in the documentary they explain how hard it was to actually get that scene to work, because Sean Young had never done a scene like that before, yada yada
right,
yada. But I don't know, something about it just kind of didn't work though. It just
right.
felt a little too robotic, in my opinion.
Well, that's kind of the idea, but whatever.
Yeah. A couple things. Well, before I forget, the musical score by Vangelis, in my opinion, is one of the greatest scores for sci-fi movies I've ever heard. Like every time I hear it, I just get so immersed into this world. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's very retro. It's very synth heavy and stuff like that. But my God, does it add so much to the story, especially with the whole kind of cold, dark, rainy aesthetic of it. I love the music, especially the theme song. That theme song really holds up, in my opinion. Um, And what else? So just finally though, just the ambition behind it, just the idea of, you know, touching on these really grand themes now, in which, you know, we could argue that the great sci-fi movies have done that, you know, but, you know, imagine bringing something like this out in 2017, which we'll address here in 2014 with Blade Runner 2049. How are
Yeah.
people gonna respond to it, you know? So, like, I'll just stop here in terms of Blade Runner itself.
Yeah.
So when you look at the movie itself, yes, you acknowledge it's a masterpiece. Yes, it took years for people to really understand it.
Yeah, it didn't do
Shockingly
well
enough,
at the time.
yeah, shockingly enough, it took a long while for people to really get. And it's only when the final cut came out, that's when people was like, yes, this is what it's supposed to be. No, like, it is a flawed masterpiece. Let's be real. It's a flawed masterpiece. It's not perfect at all. There's some narrative things, there's some dialogue things that I would admit don't really quite work. Um, but this is one of these shows that I could always go back to and still be blown away by, still be amazed by, still be intrigued by. You know what I mean? But, you know, it's just that it took so long for it to get that recognition, though. That is amazing as well. And
Yeah.
kinda it's something like you would imagine, like, people just write off, like, oh, you just try and fail, like, say Dune, for example, right? Oh, and by the way, believe it or not, Ridley Scott, sorry, actually was going to do Dune. Huh?
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
don't know.
after he did Alien, he was like, all right, I want to do another sci-fi dread, but I wanna expand myself now. I don't wanna be in this space station all my life. So let me do
okay.
Dune, but that didn't work
Okay.
out. So he's like, all right, screw it, I'll do Blade Runner. It,
Right.
it, it was a personal incident. Well, actually, death of his brother. One of
Okay.
his brothers actually died, and it kind of inspired him to do this movie, which is probably why the movie kind of feels kind of dull and depressing at times. You know?
Right.
But yeah, he was passionate about it. And you could see it in like every shot of this movie here. But
Right.
as for greatest movies of all time, okay, in terms of greatest sci-fi, yes, definitely. I mean, it
Right.
influenced so much movies like The Fifth Element, The Matrix, Dark City, Ghost in the
2000.
Shell. Yes, even that remake that came out this year, and I bet that director was like, oh shit, why we actually bring this out 2017, Jed, when we have Blade Runner 2049? I don't know, but you know, it influenced so much stuff now. But as in greatest movies of all time, it's kind of weird now because of how poorly received it was back in the days. It wasn't like, say,
Yeah.
A Clockwork Orange, for example, which was popular, but it was just controversial, or like 2001: A Space Odyssey, which in a
Became
way was a flop, but it's because they kind of remarketed it as this like movie to go and smoke weed to, and you know, it's the ultimate trip, man. You know, so a lot of people went in and it became a success afterwards. You know, but this one here was like, okay, people just don't get. They kind of write it off, but it just became this cult classic. But somehow, some way, we kind of regard this as probably one of the best movies ever made because of how influential it is. I think that's the reason why it's there in that list. But any thoughts on that? Like, its relevance as being one of the greatest movies of all time, or
I
you
know
just
about
think
all
it's
that.
just there?
Nah, I get why somebody. I don't know about greatest film, but yeah, it is one of those movies that I could see why it's so iconic. I mean, I get that.
Yeah,
But as a
yeah,
film, aesthetically, yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, so I have no problem really putting it that high on the list. I mean, I won't put it as best or even top 10, but I'll put it up there. Maybe definitely top 20.
yeah. I mean, if
Um,
they're looking for like unforgettable movies, okay, no problem.
right.
Yeah, like you see it once, you see it
But
so much other times, you always remember it.
that's where judgment call you had to kind of make. That's that you can't say, is it greatest film as opposed to most unforgettable film or shaping people's paradigm? Because that's the whole point. It's about shaking up the paradigm.
Yeah, cause that's
So,
like, see, for example, like maybe in the next, I don't know, I believe they always update their list every 5 years. I remember, like they had a list back then, and then, well, Blade Runner was in it, of course, and then they updated the list like 5 years later, and I remember they had Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring there. I was like,
right.
okay, really, okay. Why not put the whole trilogy? But whatever. I mean, it's a movie, it's a fantasy, it's a great movie. But all of a sudden, you know, regarding this as the best, one of the best of all time,
Right,
like
and
movies.
that's well. I don't waste my time thinking about these rankings in that way. It's just
Yeah.
like I get it.
Yeah.
Why?
So like, why not put the Matrix there? Look how influential that was. You know? Why
Well,
not
that's
put
the
the
thing.
Matrix up
Matrix
there?
is still Matrix is when it's how derivative it was. I mean, Matrix is still a very derivative movie
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
compared to say Blade Runner. I mean, I don't think anybody could say Blade Runner borrowed from X, Y, and Z. Matrix, you could definitely say that.
Of
You know,
course.
you
Yeah.
could point
You're
to
right.
this anime and Dark City or whatever it is, right? Um, But I don't know. So just from the sheer novelty of Blade Runner, it gets a lot of points. That's why I think a lot of people point to now. Not
Yes.
necessarily as a film structurally or whatever it is.
Mm.
So
Right.
that's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, you're right, you're right. So in the end, I don't think we should kind of wonder if it deserves to be there. Just accept the fact that it exists. It did what it did quite excellently back in 1982. It was groundbreaking. It was forward thinking. And it really helped shape the pretty much dystopian sci-fi for years to come, and it will continue to do so. And more people will check it out and be impressed by it. I don't imagine that they're gonna love it upon first view, but with more views like I did, you really do appreciate it and love it. So yeah, you're right. It is one of my all-time favorite movies, but it took a long while for it to get there. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
So all that talk aside, now we have to get to Blade Runner 2049 and ask the question: did lightning hit the same tree twice with this one here?
Right.
So you just wanna dive into what the movie is about?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is about a character called Agent, well, Police Officer K.
Yeah.
I'm not
Not to
gonna
be
say what his
confused with Agent K from
from Men in Black. No, no.
right. I was thinking that
This
too when I
character
heard K, but
is
anyway.
established immediately that he is a replicant
Yes.
in the beginning, so it's not a spoiler to say that, which I kind of called. But um, he starts off as that, and then basically he has to starts off up into hunt down a character, another replicant. Not sure what he had to do exactly, but he met basically this David Bautista's character that we saw in the little short,
Mm-hmm.
and then he discovers an interesting mystery. And that's
Right.
where the story starts.
Right.
And it leads him to some interesting facts about. Well, we're not going to say what that is. Do you want to say that if you want to say that? But it's a big deal in the world of Blade Runner.
Alright.
What's going on?
Well, okay, continue, sorry.
I don't know if you want to say. Do you want to say what it is? What he
All right.
discovers?
Well. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Right. Now, I've read and I've heard that for screenings of this movie, the director Denis Villeneuve, one of our favorite directors working today, let's say
Yeah.
that right out the bat, told critics specifically he does not want certain aspects of the story to be spoiled. Exactly for people going into this. So,
No, it depends. Because it's very early in the film that this thing, the mystery has to be set up, but then you find out it's not the mystery, but the mystery about the mystery now.
Yeah.
But we can let's just say it. I'll say what it is, and then we're not gonna say anything after that.
Yeah.
The big shell, the big thing is that thing you discovered is involving basically the idea that a replicant can become pregnant,
Yes.
and that's it. So I'm
And
not
that's
gonna say any more.
Not gonna say
Whatever.
any more from there, right?
Right.
So
Basically, he has to figure out this mystery, and well, it's implied that the child is born, and the child is roughly 30 years old, and he has to figure out where the hell his child is.
right.
And he
Yeah.
has to look for this child, and well, the implication is, well, according to his boss, played by Robin Wright, he has to kill this child, much like any other replicant, because replicants who aberrant needs to die.
Right.
Right. That's the story.
That's it. Okay. So what were your thoughts? What were your honest thoughts on Blade Runner 2049?
I have to admit, straight up, movie is solid. It's great actually, but this was Ghost in the Shell all over again.
You don't say.
Yeah, not in the sense of in only one way. Not in the sense of it's much. Let us be clear here. It's much better made, much better acting.
Derp. Yeah.
Derp, all of that. But I thought it didn't take the concepts and the material far enough, and it really felt dated.
Oh, really?
If this movie came out 15 years ago, I would have been blown away. But now I'm not that blown away, concept wise. And because
I see.
here's the thing, Battlestar kind of did all of this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll
Battlestar
confess, I haven't gotten around to watching Battlestar Galactica yet. I know I
And
suck.
it kind of explored all those concepts already. And they could have gone much further with this. Now here's the thing, it still works very well as a movie. Yeah, let's just be clear. It's structured very well. It had I would have cut about 20 minutes or so from this. It's a little too long. And I thought the first, 45 minutes hour was a little laggy. They could have cut a lot of that. Mostly the first hour in particular. Could have cut some of that. But the story was solid. It did a lot of that. And then because the promo material sold out some big things like Harrison Ford being in the movie. Like if we didn't know Harrison Ford was in the movie, that would have been a big, really cool, great and huge surprise.
Of course.
But I thought they should have done a lot of that. Like I should avoid the promo material. But the movie's still solid. It's great. It didn't do, concept-wise, it didn't do anything interesting.
All right.
because it doesn't go that far with the ideas. A lot of the action is okay and but not great. It has some damn solid moments and some great character actor appearances in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know again everything is about visual language with this. I had a point in the same place as Planet of the Apes, the last one.
Okay, the one that
It's
I love, but we'll talk about
yeah,
that just now.
which I liked as well. I
Right.
liked as well, but strong visual language, but just as a story and concept and world building, it didn't really rope me in as much as I thought it would have. Um, Overall, I still really like this movie. It's really good actually. It's actually well made, well shot. Again, cinematography is the Roger Deakins hit it out of the park with this one. But concept wise, I was not that impressed, frankly.
Okay.
But we could talk about just the general tone and approach of it. Go ahead.
All right. So this is actually kind of a tricky film to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Really because of the franchise that it belongs to. Knowing that this film kind of started off as not being, fully understood when it first came out, but you have to watch it more and more and more, and then you really appreciate it then. So to some
Right.
people, that might come off as being like pretentious, like you don't get the real meaning, man, and this is not for you, whatever it is. I just think that there's lots of depth that's in this movie,
Yeah.
and I'll just say this right off the bat. It will require some more viewings to really get the full scope of this.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, with me, I would confess something. I went into this movie with high expectations, right? Just because of the, what we heard in the press, the rave reviews, and people call this thing a masterpiece and one of the greatest sequels of all time, right? And then, of course, because it's Blade Runner, it's a return to that world again.
Right.
And it's Denis Villeneuve, right? So, yeah, as soon as I saw that Sony logo, believe it or not, as soon as I saw that Sony /
Oh
Columbia
no,
logo,
that
I
oh
was
no,
like,
that's thing, eh?
okay,
That
wait, we doing this? Wait, Sony involved in this? Really?
no, no,
No,
no.
I
But
didn't know that.
that's the one thing I was mentioning because I mentioned how it feels like a sequel to that world and what they thought would have been big, powerful companies by now. So they have three big references that was hilarious to me.
Atari.
Um,
When I saw
Atari,
that Atari, I was like,
Atari,
oh,
and then
you're
what you
going
call
back to
it?
the old movie here, boy.
They make a reference to Panam. I was like, what Panam?
Yes, and those were
I was
in the
like, all
old
right,
movies, like.
this is clearly a parallel universe.
Yeah, that was clever, but I like that they didn't do too much of it though. You still
Right,
see
right. Those
you
two
still see
obnoxious.
Coca-Cola, of course, because you must have Coca-Cola in the future, of course. Right,
Right, that's fine.
yeah.
No, Coca-Cola in the future is fine, but Panam and Atari, come on.
I know, right? And this nice long shot, this nice like
Yeah, it's
overhead
a great
shot
shot,
of,
eh?
Atari, boy. Is when I look
Yeah,
at
it's
this
a
like,
great shot, but
wait, that's
Atari.
Atari, boy.
You know?
But anyway, so I went in with high expectations with this. Like even when I saw the Columbia logo and there's all this stuff, I was like, oh my god, I love this, right? But then the movie actually started. I had to calm myself down. And just right off from the opening sequence, I'm not going to describe what happens in the opening sequence, but funny thing is that one of the original ideas for the first Blade Runner movie, because they actually had, like, one guy actually wrote a full script for it, and really, they checked it out and it was like they was about to do it now. But then they bring in another guy because of his recent work there. So it's like, all right, let me see what you could do. Like, you write over the whole script. I really love that script, and that's what we got in the movie now. So the
Right.
original writer was like, oh, well, in retrospect, yeah, I guess my ideas kind of sucked. But one of the ideas that they had initially, I'm not sure if it was the original writer or the new one had it, pretty much played out, pretty much involves what happens in the opening sequence of this film here, where we
Right.
see Dave Bautista's character.
Right.
The outcome of it was different in the original version, but here I liked how they kind of changed it up. So I like the fact that they borrowed stuff, or at least they took little ideas that they had from the old film, even though it was in pre-production stage, and decided to
Right.
bring it across here. That was cool. And I also like the fact that they took themes from the old film and just kind of expanded it. They don't expand on it as much as all that. They just kind of hint at a lot of things, like a lot. There's lots of ideas here, lots of really fascinating ideas here. Sometimes it could be a little overbearing, overwhelming, I should say. Okay,
Yeah.
is have like you study it. Okay, it's about this one thing, and then something happens. Like, oh, well, it's about that, and then oh, it's about that, and then it's about that. You know what I mean? Like it's about the future and how how does love work in the future, and how does virtual reality work in the future? Can we interact with virtual reality and stuff like that there? And then
Right.
once again, the idea with machines: can they dream? Can they love? And then in this case here, can they get pregnant? How exactly does this work? Is this about being human,
But
being
no,
too
okay,
human?
so
I don't know.
no, but that's the thing. One of the more interesting arcs I thought they could have done, and this is where I didn't really get into, and this is why I say they could have carried these arguments even further, is I forget Jared Leto's character's name. Um, Wallace?
Um, Wallace, yeah, Neander
Wallace, yeah.
Wallace, yeah.
Right.
I'll talk about
I
him in
thought
a bit, but continue.
right now he was constantly comparing himself to Tyrell. And
Yes, yes.
it's implied, well, Tyrell fuck up and he's so much smarter by
Yeah.
doing this, that, and I realized that Tyrell solved the problem that he was looking for all the time.
Yeah,
And I thought they would have.
and I like the little callback where it's implied that Jared Leto is blind. So if you remember what happened to Tyrell, where his eyes were
Right.
bloodshot, I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
that was
yeah.
a clever,
I like that.
clever,
Yeah, that's a
clever
yeah.
reference. Yeah,
Yeah, I
But
picked
yeah,
up on
continue.
it as well. But right, so it's to solve this problem, and basically what he has this grand vision that, but involving replicants, saying, well, no, replicants is the true future, but the only way to do this is to have them make replicate on their own. And the problem is that he could wherever replicants is needed for, it's necessary for allowing the world to flourish.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
And he said no way he could build them fast enough or build enough for them to make the world flourish the way it is. That's why the world is a complete shithole.
Yeah, and you see him actually try and fail, actually,
Right,
try to
and right. So
replicate.
they're showing
Yeah.
attempting it to, and then apparently, Tyrell solved the problem 30 years before he did, right? Long before he did.
Right.
And I like that idea of him. Now that would have been interesting if they explored it. Basically, quote unquote, one god comparing himself to another god, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, they do have a lot of
God
Christian
complex stuff going on.
symbolism, stuff
Well,
like
just
that.
right, a lot of god complex, like blatant naked god complex applying here.
Yeah, yeah. Right down to Jared Leto talking about angels, and they must ascend to heaven,
But
that kind of thing.
he really couldn't solve that problem, no. That Tyrell solved long time ago. So it kind of implying that Tyrell is a genius beyond him. Like, this guy's smart, but he's not that smart. And I wanted him to explore that a little more. Like, I knew it was still a solid detective story on its own. Like, it's better than the original Blade Runner in many, many ways. It is a coherent story. They just kind of solve all the classic problems as a film that Blade Runner didn't really do that well.
Yeah,
It is a
where it was all about style and mood,
Right.
and actual substance, right?
Ryan Gosling has a full solid arc, whilst Deckard didn't really have one in the original Blade Runner, in my opinion. But this one, again, they need to stretch it out a little better. As I said, if this came out 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I'd have loved it. But it's because all these ideas just done already explored in other ways.
Right.
And when you actually get all these story cyberpunk beats in, the big reveal is not that big of a letdown. Like, where you learn in the ending what going on. Like, okay, that kind of interesting. Kinda.
Right. I understand what you mean. Yeah.
I was kind of let down by that, ultimately.
Okay, so I'll just continue. So
Yeah.
I would actually admit that I should not have gone in with my expectations this high, though. Like, I was expecting this to be this kind of grand operatic film that would far surpass the original film now. And in a way it is, but there were things that took place, and this is once again reminding me of how I felt when I saw the first Blade Runner for the first time.
Right.
There were some things that I saw that didn't work for me, but I would say that because I went expecting one thing and I got something else. Case in point, Dave Bautista's character, like, I expected him to be prevalent in the film, but he wasn't there for long. Another thing that was a disappointment for me, using that term loosely, was Jared Leto. Yes, he was great. Yes, he was that kind of weird, creepy kind of.
No,
character
he
you would
was
expect.
fine. I mean, I
But-
thought he was kind of hamming it up a little too much. He
Yeah,
was
with the
doing
whole
this-
kind of
this-
whispery voice, like,
and
God,
yeah, and
Harry
he
must
kind of and he enunciated everything, which is a little annoying. But it was fine. It
Yeah.
filled the character. The character totally, like, that character, since he's the god complex character, like a character like that would totally do that shit.
Right. Well, I understand that, and
Right.
when you look back at John Tyrell's character, he wasn't there in the film that long, but when he was there for a purpose. And I
Right.
felt that was what Jared Leto was there for. But I felt that okay, I was assuming that he was going to be the villain, quote unquote, right? But
Right.
in a way he was, and in a way he wasn't. I
But I saw him.
so
I saw
like
him
when
outright.
when I saw him there, I was like, okay, we're going to go two guy against the bad guy, and then you realize, well, he's not really the bad guy, so okay,
Well, I
kind
saw him
of. I
as
don't know.
I saw him as the bad guy.
He was
Largely.
more like the puppet master in a way. Like he was
Right. I
pulling
saw him.
the strings really, and
Right.
just all these characters just kind of involved now, you know. Well, one
Yeah.
character in particular that works for him. That's all I'll say. I wouldn't spoil who that character is, but yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, like I was thinking about it. I had a good while for me to think about it. You know, for one thing, I really do love the fact that the film is its own thing. It's telling its own story. It does not piggyback too much on the what people loved and what people remembered about the old film. Like yes, the technology is there. It's updated slightly, and the visuals. I'll talk about the visuals in a bit. The visuals are there. You know, the stuff that you expect to see in a Blade Runner movie is there. But
Yeah.
what I love though is that this was not Force Awakens, you know,
Right. Right.
where
Yeah.
it's like
Definitely.
you're relying so much on nostalgia. It's almost like you're remaking the damn film. This
Right.
one was telling its own story, right?
Yeah, no, it expanded in its own way. I mean, little things that I really like when they went to quote unquote San Diego.
Yes, yeah.
That was great. That whole sequence with this boy from Walking Dead, Morgan.
From Walking Dead, who I didn't see
Great
coming.
sequence.
There's some great cameos in this
Yeah,
show.
little character. Yeah, Robin Wright was good in this. She was pretty good in this, I thought.
My boy Bakad Abdi. Last time I
Yeah.
saw him was in Captain Phillips. He is in this
Yeah.
show. And
Yeah.
the character that they picked for him, perfect.
Perfect character,
in
yeah.
this world. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
And yeah, everybody I thought did an excellent job. This
Yeah.
girl, Anna de Amas, who plays the artificial intelligence,
Joy,
I thought
yeah.
she was great. I
Yeah.
love the characterization that they give to the little backstory that they have there. And like I
Right.
said, they have all these great ideas because in here, she is this virtual reality character. She's just there, basically like a companion for Kay, basically for Ryan Gosling's character.
Yeah.
And how her setup is that she's in love with this guy now. She's almost like,
Right.
this boyfriend, girlfriend. But then when you remember from the old film, about if replicants should be in love and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of interesting. Although I was thinking about her, remember that movie? With Scarlett
Yeah,
Johansson?
It totally reminded me of that, yeah.
The whole idea of how relationships would be in the
How that could
future.
work, right.
Yeah. But the way how they set it up, including one scene with a human character that I did not see coming, the way how they played that
Yeah.
off was like, wow.
That was impressive.
But, yeah.
Right.
And how,
So,
how
but
they
no,
pull it off visually was like,
right.
okay, this
Yeah,
get
then,
points. This get
well,
points.
speaking of that, this was, the character you're talking about. I can't remember her character name, but it was Mackenzie
Love,
Davis.
that's her name.
Was that?
Oh, no, Mariette, I believe her name is. Yeah.
Okay, right. The character Mackenzie Davis from Halt and Catch Fire.
Yes, your show, which I need to catch
Still
up on.
recommend
I
that
know.
show. It's
I know.
awesome.
Right.
Right. So I was surprised to see her, and then she ties into the main story bigger than I thought. That was kind of interesting. Again, how they do it is like this could have been a first part of something, eh?
Oh, you mean like a first act or something? Yeah.
Right. So
I see what you
if we get Blade Runner 2052 or something, I would be happy with that because they could still carry these arguments a little further. That was my problem with this film. It's like if they leave it as is, I wouldn't hate that.
Right.
I could live with that.
Yeah.
But I would have preferred a little more in terms of carry these concepts a little further because when they actually start to think of what's going on here, it's like, wait now, if that is the case and this is this, then that's really, really fascinating about the future of this world now.
Yeah.
Going
I totally
forward.
agree. Right.
Right, especially with the big blast reveal, like where you learn what's going on.
Yes.
You're like, all right, that kind of real fascinating. When you piece and pull everything together.
Yeah.
And I'll have to watch this movie a second time to really. I think if I watch it a second time and pick up on some little small details, I might like it a lot more. But
Yeah,
as
well,
it is-
I see that happening with me as well, though.
Yeah.
Well, just a few more things I have to say about the film.
Yeah.
So yes, everybody keeps saying how gorgeous this movie looks.
Yeah, look.
Yeah, this movie is freaking gorgeous, way.
Yeah.
Roger Deakins has outdone
Because
himself.
All the shots. All the
There
shots.
were shots in this movie where I was like, give this man an award, please. I'll just say
Yeah,
that.
all the
Just give
shots-
this man an award, man, please.
So all the shots like Los Angeles in the future in 2049 look great, like way better.
Yes, my God, yes.
That first opening shot, like when you see him when he flying into Los Angeles, and you really get a sense that wait, that looking like 30 years later from
Yeah,
20.
and I guess this is scope of it. It looks
Yeah.
so big now, so large now.
I don't,
You know?
yeah, because in 2019 it looked like a shithole, but now it looking like a real shithole.
Yes,
But it was
right
really
down
well
to
done.
the foggy skies, rain, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then
Snow falling
everything
every once in a while. I don't know. Yeah.
Everything looked great. The sequence in Los Vegas looked great. awesome.
Yes. That sequence alone where Ryan confronts Harrison Ford, just
Yeah,
the build up to that sequence is probably some of the best looking visuals I've ever seen in a movie. Period.
yeah,
Period. On the subject of Harrison Ford, like I thought that I was worried that they were going to do the Han Solo thing, where it's like, well, I'm
right,
old, but I'm still me.
right.
No,
Yeah,
here
I
he's
thought
Rick
I thought
Deckard.
they would have just trot him out, just yell one-liners and bullshit.
Yeah.
No, oh no, it
Here,
was a solid character arc
yeah.
as well.
Harrison Ford was brilliant in this. Is probably one of his best
Yeah, he was pretty
performances.
good. Yeah,
It showed character growth from how he was in this film here. I
yeah,
like that even when he was there, even from what you may speculate with him being a replica to that, yes, it still had you wondering. Wait,
right.
are you really? Are you a human really? Because when you think about the whole thing with the, anyway, I won't spoil it. But anyway, just him involving another old character, I should say, his relevance to that. You're kind of wondering, are you still human in there? I don't know,
Right.
right?
No, they did a good job with it because it's unclear of who mixing with who to make what, right?
Yeah,
Involving pregnancy, right? And so it's like, wait, if this is the case, then this had to be this way, and you're not sure what's going on. And it's like, okay, this is this. All right, no problem. So I don't
yeah,
really have an issue with all of that. As I said, I have to look back at it, and it really feels like a part one to something.
yeah. I'll talk about that part with it a bit actually. I'll get to that.
Right.
I like the
Whatever.
fact that we got to see a couple of old characters, one of which includes Gaff, played by Edward James Olmos, who
Yeah,
have
Gav
gotten
comes back.
surprisingly old by. I mean, I
Yeah.
know he was in Agents of Shield and stuff, but my God, they make
Yeah.
him look real old in this. But yeah,
Yeah.
boy. I thought that the supporting characters were great. Mackenzie Davis, Sylvia Hawkes, Anna de Armas were great. Robin Wright took a while for me to get into because she was just that police chief kind of barking orders. It kind of came off like that at first, but is like when you kind of understand why she's like that, where the whole relation to replicants in that year,
Yeah.
it worked for me. um but really, the person who sold it for me though was Ryan Gosling. Dread. Like I
Yeah.
would
He was
call
alright
myself
in
the
this.
biggest fan of him, but I
Right.
always felt like he always had this kind of stoic face, this kind of one face
Exactly.
he always does. And I remember he did it in Only God Figures, which I hate, by the way.
Which is terrible.
I
Yeah.
felt
But
that
the
he
thing
did
is,
that a
right.
lot, but here the face
Right,
works
but the
perfectly.
movie that because I know him from movies that I like where he played the stoic role. You just had to write it in the role, and it works.
Yes, and I
Totally
yeah,
works.
exactly. And
The movie Drive, totally
yes,
works.
exactly.
Totally works. So
Drive is where I was well, is that and Crazy Stupid Love? That's why I was like, oh, this is Ryan Gosling, okay.
yeah, he can act
And
right.
then
Exactly.
when Only God Figures come, I was like, what's this?
Right. Well, that didn't work.
Yeah, but here, right, I just seen this right off the bat. Yeah, this is one of his best performances to date. This is Oscar worthy in my opinion.
Right.
I like that. It in a way he was kind of playing the Rick Deckard type of character where he doesn't say much, but I like that you could tell there was some internal stuff going on as well. He wanted to live a life, and how they set up his characters, like replicants are still hated, skin jobs as
Yeah.
they call, are being criticized and stuff like that. But he still wants to live a life now. He wants to live his life, even though he is primarily a machine. And that's why I love the whole relationship thing that they set up here with him and the artificial intelligence. That was just really compelling. So
Yeah.
there was lots of stuff, layers going on with his character as well that I loved.
Right.
It wasn't just,
Right.
I'm just going to be the stoic guy because the world around me is all depressing,
Right.
It was a step up from the Rick Deckard
But
character.
it's a classic kind of reference, but is a much better quote unquote internal justification for just the idea of the neo-noir figure.
Yes,
Right?
you're
Remember the
you're
whole neo-noir central figure supposed to be stoic and jaded anyway.
Of course, yeah,
Uh,
and kind
right,
of,
so they made it work. They made it work in the
against the world and
context.
all that kind of stuff, yeah.
Right. They made it work in the context, whilst in the case of classic noir is like, oh well, he's just a stoic badass bullshit.
Yeah, exactly,
Um,
exactly. Well,
He has a problem. He has a problem with this, right? As I
Right.
said, because it feels dated to me. Like again, if I saw this in if I saw this in the mid 90s, blown away. If I saw it even in the mid 2000s, I'd probably be blown away. Maybe
I just
but-
felt this came out too late, like say,
too
like
late.
Ghost in
And
Shell.
here's the problem, because I know it's supposed to be a parallel universe because again, it's Pan Am and Atari. Because it doesn't feel like a workably international thing. So I can't
I see.
see-
So you don't buy into this future
I
being
can't, right,
reality.
exactly. I can't buy into this will be like that in terms of like, well, where's the environmental movement? Like, why does LA need to look like this? Like,
Yeah.
I get it's a projection of cynical 80s outlook.
Right,
there.
right. I understand. Yeah.
And that was my problem. And I get it's still a parallel world that you have to accept it. I kind of look at this the same way you look at Fallout, right?
Right.
Silly projection of the future, but it kind of works in its own way.
Mhm.
So that's how I kind of try to treat it. And it's the same problem I had with Ghost in the Shell now. It's just a projection that really don't hold up now for me as a sci-fi fan looking
Right,
into the
right.
future.
Yeah,
Right?
understand.
At no point I could look at this and say that could happen.
Yeah.
Right? Original Blade Runner at the time, yes. Right? But not this now. And I suppose again, look, it's its own trajectory, whatever.
Right.
So you could accept it on its own.
Right.
But yeah, I just couldn't. Again, even if you're doing that, you still have to carry these ideas to an interesting logical conclusion, and they only kind of just now sort of get off the tip of the iceberg.
Right. That's one thing that I want to mention too. Just a couple more things, and then we'll get to rate it. Right.
Yeah.
So the screenplay I thought was very well written as well. One thing that I give credit for, and this is going to be something that will be turned off a lot of people going into this movie blind because it's Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford in the poster, is that it kind of just goes balls deep to tell its own story. It does not hold back. It's not saying, well, this is 2017, it's all about, the ADD generation, so we have to show you a bunch of action sequences because that's what people come to see. No, this movie takes its time. It's paced slow. That's probably something that I'll have to, that might grow on me, the next couple of viewings, sorry. Because I felt there are a couple of points actually for its 163-minute runtime that do drag. But I imagine it's all about tone and atmosphere, which Ridley Scott's film back in 1982 did. But here it's just carried across to this other level, this kind of existential. There's more to what you're seeing here than what you actually think kind of vibe going on here. And I was just thinking back of like old sci-fi, like old Andrei Tarkovsky kind of stuff, Stalker, Solaris, where yes, the pace was slow, but that was the point. It was more like meditative, more like trying to get the viewer into this world. And that's one thing I really love about this movie, is that it requires you to use your head, use your brain. Sorry, it's not like boom boom explosions, great shots, boom boom explosions, Ryan Gosling, boom boom. And yes, they do have some action sequences, not a lot. And you do have gorgeous cinematography to just bask in and just enjoy and, get eye orgasms and stuff like that. But still, there is a story and there are a lot of themes in it. And some of them, the majority of them I really did like just the questions that they ask, just certain things about the future that they touch on. But I felt like, how you say, they kind of just grasp at it, just touch it a little briefly, every once in a while, and then they'll move on to something else. So it's not like about one or two basic themes now. But maybe they're just there in the background, I don't know. But they do touch on a lot of stuff. And I guess that, the more you watch it, the more it feels like it's all connected at the end of the day. But I do feel that there are a lot of ideas, a lot of which I love. But it's almost like, okay, we want to add this, we want to add this, we want to add this, we want to add this. But we had to kind of make up in mind exactly what this movie is going to be about. And I guess it kind of does near the end, but I just felt that it was just like a lot of ideas. It almost feels like 35 years worth of ideas. Like they had this sequel in their head for the longest while. It's just like, all right, we may not get this opportunity again, so let me not stuff all of them together because, we can't do that. But let me just hint at them, just little brief touches here and there. Whether it's visual or thematic, I just find there's just a lot of ideas, which isn't bad, but once again, it just requires you to watch this film again. So right off the bat, I'll just say this is not a film you're going to get in its entirety the first time you saw it. I saw it yesterday, and I came out of it, feeling like I got my money's worth, but because I had my expectations high, I was expecting this kind of grand operatic masterpiece. I was expecting like the new 2001: A Space Odyssey. But then again, I have to remember it's Blade Runner. It's its own world. It's telling its own story and its own themes. Yeah. And once again, it's not something that you're gonna you're not gonna grasp everything the first time you see it. And now one thing I really praise the film for is that it does not hold your hand. It does not tell you, okay, this is what's gonna happen. This is why it's happening. This is what it all means, guys. Yeah, we spoon feeding you information now. You have to figure things out. And yes, while the film did not play out the way I expected it to, I can't say that was a bad thing. I praise the ambition. I praise the effort that, Villeneuve put into this film. I think that he knocks it out the park here. If he doesn't get an Oscar nomination for Best Director, yeah, something wrong with the academy. Same thing for Roger Deakins. He just knocks it out of the park. Everybody just delivers a A game here. Even right down to Hans Zimmer and Benjamin Wallach, who delivered a great, really kind of dark, futuristic score for this film. Very dark though, I must say. It wasn't as eerie as say the Vangelis score was for the old film, but this one was like, yeah, this is some dark shit here. But we have little glimpses of Vangelis, some little, you know, angelic kind of, flourishes here and there. But
Yep.
still, we really set up the fact that this is a dark world we set up here. And something I didn't even know about, rapper producer LP, who you would remember as one half of Ronnie Jules, he was actually proposed to do some music for the score. And I think I mentioned this in our old review, where I forgot to mention another piece of art that was inspired by the old Blade Runner was LP's contribution to underground hip hop duo Cannibal Ox's debut album, The Cool Vein, which
Right.
is probably one of my all time favorite rap albums. But if you listen to the musical score of that, sorry, the music, the beats behind it, the idea what it's kind of setting up is like not so much as a post apocalyptic, New York, but just this idea that this is like the future of it. Like this is how New York would be in the future, and this is how rap would sound like in the future. So if you listen to it, and I strongly recommend that you do, you'd pick up on some Vangelis worship in it. It has a really like a Blade Runner kind of aesthetic thing when you hear it. I thought that it worked perfectly. So it would have been cool to have LP do the score, but apparently they just didn't want him involved. But the one thing though, I was expecting this guy Johan Johansson, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He was the guy who did the score for Prisoners and
Right.
Sicario, right? If you remember that really dark medicine score from
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sicario, right? So when I watched it over, I was like, well, yeah, he should be doing the score for Blade Runner 2049, especially with the relationship he have with the director. But no, they got Hans Zimmer. I thought for the most part he did it's Hans Zimmer. Come on, of course he's gonna kill it. He did a great job here. But overall, though, I can't say that I was disappointed by it. I would say it was disappointed in the fact I was more disappointed myself in terms of me having my expectations so high and expecting so grand a story, and then getting something that was more meditative, something where right off the bat you have to watch this movie again. Um, there are some things that I felt at the time, because I say it's the first time I saw it, didn't quite work thematically or narratively, but I guess maybe it's just because of what I expected. I expected certain things, but it didn't play out the way it did. But in no way would I say did I feel that these things were unintentional. Like, oh well, we kind of didn't mean to have this plot hole here. I think that everything in this movie was planned out. Everything, even right down to the point that yeah, you have to see this movie again. Even I can't imagine anybody going to this thing and understanding everything about it. That's not to say that this is an uncomprehensible movie at all. You will understand the gist of it, but there are things, whether it's themes or just subject matter that's playing in the background or whatnot, that will linger on and stuff that I imagine if I see it again and again, I'm probably gonna understand more. And just last thing I'll say before I get to ratings, which is funny enough now, I just read this up online. Yeah, the movie kind of flopped in the box office. Haha.
What the fuck? What do you want?
So yeah, it's like they really hit the same tree twice. Because
Right.
yes, you have the critical praise, but dude, even if you see this movie, like you would imagine people kind of not getting it, people walking out of it and saying it was long, it was boring, it dragged on. This thing don't make sense. It was weird. So I know that people are not like it's not gonna do well in the box office, but I do know it's gonna show up in a lot of best movies of the year lists. I'll get to that in a bit. But it's just really funny that it started off like that in the box office. Like I was expecting this thing to be a huge success, not just because of the title itself and the director and the team and everybody behind it, but because it's a sequel to one of the greatest sci-fi movies of all time. But I guess people just care to see other stuff. I guess I don't know, but I know that in time people will appreciate it more. Well, I know a lot of people appreciate it now, but I imagine more people will really get into it. I do expect one of these days some people might come and say, this movie was kind of overrated. It's not as great as you might think it is. I do expect me arguments like that coming in the near future, But I'll just say this now before I get into rating. This is hands down one of the most ambitious films I've ever seen in my life. This really shows the power of sci-fi, just the genre of science fiction, and
Yeah.
it just really represents the best of science fiction in my opinions. Not spoon feeding you everything. It's entertaining from start to end, but there's still things about it, whether it's the cinematography, the gorgeous cinematography, or the compelling characters, or just the themes that are touched on. That you're not gonna get the first time you see it, but you watch it again and again, and it becomes more and more clear. I really love the fact, I should say, that they've decided to make something challenging in 2017. They didn't dumb it down. They didn't expect on too much. They didn't rely on too much nostalgia. They played the nostalgia angle quite smartly and rather subtly, in my opinion. But it wasn't like a Force Awakens. I'm so glad that it wasn't that. It was its own thing. It was brave. It was bold. It told its own tale. It was confident in telling its story. It knew that not everybody would understand it upon first viewing, but yeah, it's just so great that I can't wait to see this movie again.
Okay.
In no way am I saying that this is a bona fide masterpiece. I think that it will that credit will I think that this movie will earn that credit over time. Like in years to come, maybe we might say it's a masterpiece. People are saying it's a masterpiece now. I'm not saying that it's not, but I think that over time people will say, "Yeah, you're right. This is a true masterpiece." But
Right.
yeah, this is one of the year's best movies, hands down. This is one of the best movies I have seen all year, and yeah, I would say this is probably one of the best sci-fi movies to come out of this decade. Maybe it should have, you know, because of the title of it. Yeah, maybe it should have come out years before. I don't know. Maybe there was just some issues. I don't know what was going on behind the scenes, but the movie came out and it just turned out way better than I expected it to be. Even though my expectations were kind of high, but yeah, this is close to perfect to me. So rating wise, while I wouldn't go for a 5 at the moment, while I wouldn't put this at my number one slot at the moment, this I really had to see it again, but it's right up there. I'll say that. I would give this decent, a strong 4.5 out of 5 stars. Go see this on the biggest screen that you can. If you don't get a chance to see it in IMAX, go see this in a cinema. Hear the sound, hear the visuals. Just kick back and just be amazed by this movie. You're not gonna remember. You're not gonna understand everything in it. I imagine you're not gonna come out of it feeling totally satisfied. But believe me, you would want to see this movie again unless you are not a fan of Blade Runner at all. But if you weren't a fan, then I don't see why you should watch this movie at all, even with the gorgeous cinematography and the cast and crew involved. But if you are a fan, if you do love sci-fi movies, if you love to be challenged in a movie, yeah, definitely see Blade Runner 2049, man. So
Right.
what is your rating, man?
Yeah, I largely agree with what you have to say. Even though I had a couple problems with this movie and I was a little let down, I still give this a solid IMAX. I
Right,
can't
now we're
good
talking
conscience.
about.
Yeah, I can't good conscience say that it was a bad movie or anything like that. I was
That's the
just
thing. Like I can't say that it was
yeah,
unintentionally supposed to be flawed. Now, like I think that
right,
it all was planned out. Now, and we just need to see it again to
right,
piece together. It feels like a puzzle. Like I need to see the puzzle and put the pieces together, and then it'll make sense. But yeah,
right. But yeah, it does. But the things I really wanted them to like stretch the premise a little further. Again, it's nowhere near as underwhelming as they say comparing to say the Force Awakens or something like a pseudo remake, pseudo reboot kind of thing.
right.
But I give this one a solid. It works. Filmmaking wise, it gets props across the board. But I really wanted them to stretch this premise a little further. But it works for the most part. Even though I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would have or should have. And again, like you, I'll probably make a attempt to go see it a second time. Yeah, so I still give this a solid IMAX. I enjoyed this film. It worked. Um, Everything across the board worked, and I can, in good conscience, rate it down, even though I didn't like it as much because Battlestar kind of did this.
Right.
But
Understood.
whatever, moving
Okay,
on.
just the one last thing before we end things off. What I would say though is that I don't know how its legacy is gonna hold up in time. I don't know if people are gonna say it was overrated and people just love it because
It's Blade Runner.
Roger Deakins. That's why I don't know. But
Right.
this film does have longevity in it. And I just say that because of how ambitious it was, not just in the visual storytelling, but just the narrative as well. Also, they kind of hint at a possible sequel or the
Right.
potential for
We are
sequels.
right. Again, it was set up in such a way where it could go on.
Yeah, and maybe
Right.
with the second viewing, I really appreciate this, but I was kind of let down a bit where I felt that this was going to be the absolute end, like we're not gonna get any more. So it kind
No.
of leaves certain narrative threads open, right?
Right. That's why
So yeah,
if it was done in such a way where it's the end, then I would have probably give it a lower score. But the way how it does, it's like all right, well, have a little more, but we don't need more. That's the
yeah,
way how
I agree, I agree.
they balance it well.
Yeah, will we get an end in the future? I don't know. I can't
Maybe.
really say.
Don't know.
But for what it's worth, though, yeah, this is an excellent movie. Near
Yeah.
perfect. I don't. It's number one slot right now, but
Yeah.
it's up there. It's definitely in my top three. That's all I have to say.